This is a process log, July 10th, 2024. Wilder's progress so far on developing and establishing the computational global peace system. The main fronts, to recap, remind, are the money problem, the market building problem, the communication problem. So far, I'm still committed to the idea of maintaining this Wilder entertainer artist identity for the sake of broadcast communication, to establish conversations with people, ultimately to train artificial intelligence tools for special purpose communications. I was explaining to my therapist today I feel discouraged, deeply discouraged, but I explained that this is okay and it's to be expected. I need to remind myself this, so I need to invent a new mechanism within my personal world peace computer to do so. And the main objective of the universal peace is to go from point A in time and get to point B in time, which is some goal or ideal destination, and minimize the action it takes to get from A to B. That means I want to get to B by exerting as little effort as possible. Naturally, because I need to save my effort for all the other things. I need to conserve the effort, and I need to profit by my efforts. So the more effort you save on, in principle, it's the more you save in terms of the bottom line. If that's time and energy, well, then you profit more. The difficult part is, though, is that it's like, in order to do that, the steps one takes from A to B, each step has to be as close to possible as the minimum viable effort, MVE. The minimum viable effort is, it's like, what is the bare minimum that I need to do to accomplish the goal or the outcome that I seek or need by making this step, by achieving this accomplishment. And so in order to actually figure that out, because we don't have a time machine, we don't have a way to go backwards, in order to be methodical and rigorous and scientific, as close as we can be to figuring that out, we have to make attempts at the minimum viable effort right off the get-go. Lots of my efforts, when I accomplish big things and I'm applying the universal peace, most of my efforts results in failure of some sort. But one of the rules is we can't waste effort, because if you're to waste effort, then it would not minimize the net effort put into getting from A to B. So I'm trying to minimize that action, the things I do. So I'm going to put the bare minimum into achieving the baby steps along the way. And even if I get lucky, I still won't know if it's actually the minimum. Like, I need to actually fail a bunch on my way to the end goal. Because if I put minimum effort, what I think is the bare minimum to do a thing, for example, the YouTube channel, I definitely put minimum effort, slap together an introduction video, post a bunch of raw, uncut content, and maybe that will be enough. Turns out it's not. Okay, dink around with compelling, captivating thumbnails, because I'm getting impressions, but no click-through. Then I realized that, oh, well, people actually definitely need shorter video. Tinker with shorts, but I realized that the process for creating the monologue content, or the sound bites, that's a legit process. The intro video, for example, it's way too long. It's 25 minutes. No way people will watch that. So now I take the next effort, like little baby steps. But because one of my rules is whatever I do, it has to be reusable in the future, modifying the pre-existing failed effort to add a little more effort to see if that's the next minimum viable. And while I do so, I learn things about refinement in the process of creating those minimum effort chunks. I'm still working at iterating on improving those as part of my peace process. Like this video, for example, avoiding or like. also stay focused on what I'm actually talking about, the Invention program and my efforts, and a process update. So I'm refining, and I've realized that in terms of the video broadcasts and the social media, to gain a following, I, one, need to make pretty much strictly short videos. I'm going to keep filming monologues as I have. For each monologue, a long version where I quickly slap together and edit, and then I'll also edit a proper short on the order of 5 minutes. Each session, I'll batch into a playlist, and that will be what I call an episode. I posted a bunch of stuff though, so I am tempted to go back and apply that pattern to what I've already posted, but there is a lot there, so I'm tempted to just highlight reels that are mashed up from what I've already filmed. Yeah, gotta be short. Here's another thing I was working on. I was trying to see if I could get away with taking the monologues and just simply jam it in to a ragbot, an LLM. Just jam it on in there and see if that's enough for it, with the proper prompt template, of course, to actually just kind of cruise the content without any hiccup. The book that I wrote, A Study in Peace, is quite well structured. I've been trying to avoid structured long form for some of these topics, such as explaining the overarching concept of the universal peace and the peace system. The concept is so nonlinear that it's hard to write a big linear chunk without constructs like fiction. Writing's hard. Yeah, yeah, Blair. No, I'm also working on not cussing so much. I thought I could get away with jamming transcripts in. About a month couple weeks in the making since I fired up the YouTube. You go to transcribe, and transcribing's kind of hard. The lingua franca, world peace computer. It's not pieces and peace, it's pieces and pieces. Okay, transcribing is relatively difficult, but what if I use a speech-to-text AI cloud service like Google Cloud or Azure, create an adapter transcribe with proper commercial AI? That's just a lot harder than I thought it was, which I'm not surprised. It happens all the time, where it turns out to be harder than I thought it was. But I figured for now, I should just start doing it with actual intelligence. The reality is, I was also going to use, if that didn't work, if plugging my content into a RAG didn't work, I was going to just jam the transcripts into GPT Omni, for example, to edit those transcripts into short videos. Generate a new transcript with all the same timestamps, but cut out the stuff we don't need. Use a bash scripting tool to automatically edit the long videos into shorts. But then, so I found a transcription service that works well enough, works out of the box really well. And so I jammed that into GPT, but first I got to go through and replace the keywords that are obviously incorrect, like world peace computer, or replace those. And so I do that with one, and then I try creating a new transcript, a short transcript with GPT Omni, and it works. And I get a transcript, but it was painful, and likewise it was also painful to reproduce. I realized that as I was going through changing terminology to match lingua franca, the value and the exercise of creating a short was more in me actually just reading and reflecting on it and just do a quick edit on my own. So I would actually gain more from that, honing my message and my broadcasting and communicating abilities. Yeah, I think I'm going to fall back to the actual intelligence. I'm still interested in creating the tool set to actually automate the process in line with world peace computer data collection intrigues. But for now, for me, I am going to value my actual intelligence over getting caught up in the whole tool frenzy. So it's cool. So like now I know how to perform transcription on various cloud services, Cloudflare, Azure, Google Cloud. Got set up with GitHub Copilot to see if I could use Copilot to edit the terminology in multiple transcript files simultaneously. That didn't work so smoothly, but now I have my pulse on creating an actual linter plugin for translating broken transcriptions into the Invention program's lexicon. Also create an interpreter to transform the formal language of the human imperative and Invention program into something that we can input into a computer, as in proper lines of code. Piece this plus piece that, this much difference potential output into a variable and then manipulate that output behind the scenes. Perhaps we do some magic. I'm not sure if I should get into it. Secret sauce. No, yeah, sure, I'll get into it. The magic would be interpreted language. If somebody wants it to formally exercise the universal peace in terms of the human imperative, or formally adopt the human imperative in a rigorous fashion, they could write code or programs using the language for specific purposes. One purpose might be identify the difference potential between two pieces, convert those difference potentials into similarity potential. I don't know. But behind the scenes, at first, until there's an actual rigorous subjective physics mathematical formalism, it would be interpreting input on the fly, ad hoc LLM prompt interfaces, if that makes sense. Experimenting with that, great lead, but not minimum viable, just minimum effort. Communication piece, I'm just going to edit the shorts myself. That'll be a lot faster, a lot less work, and with a lot more benefit to my actual intelligence than would be me creating a tool, a script to just do it automatically. So that will also compel me, incentivize me to be less sloppy, to be more precise with my presentations and the content that I do generate. So communication on the financing. In the past month and a half, I realized I've come up with a plan to actually broadcast solicitation for investors to establish a fund up. But one of the dependencies for that plan is I actually have to have a prototype product figured out or articulated or designed. And so the broadcast solicitation planned out, it'll apply to the global and local scope. But that aside, because this idea is so niche, the market hasn't been established. Yeah, it has been established. Piece that's computational piece that's vague and anyways. So soliciting for funds for investors to pay for founders to create a startup to shift the product, I think that's good and that should happen. But because this has never even been attempted before, the only real solid like bedrock aspect to financing, I think that in order for financing to succeed in the long run, operators within the project have to have a buffer from the failure, because it's actual shipping the piece computer widgets and thing you can hold in your hand product. Since that's not even the point, if that were to fail, by virtue of the universal peace being what it is, the founders you can't quit. You can't just like give up. It's one of the rules, right? Never give up. You have to have faith in self. And so the idea is you keep iterating on that, iterating on those attempts to find that minimum viable product, whatever the piece computer hardware or widget is, out without needing to repeat the whole process, or at least without needing to hit rock bottom. So there has to be buffer in place, and that's why I think real estate will be an essential aspect of the financing for world peace computers. That is, of course, until adoption. Once a market is established, then the idea is to introduce, crypto assets, financial assets, utilities, tokens or coins, depending on the scope of the application. Yeah, crypto and real estate. It's got to be the bedrock, especially real estate, rental real estate, I mean, specifically. Have to be passive income streams. So never passive, but relatively speaking. I also realize that in terms of the house I was looking at getting a business loan to purchase and turn into rental property, the math doesn't quite make sense because there's no solid internet connection here. So if there are people using their invention effort along the lines as I imagine, which is where you get together in a shared space, we all work on building our own little mini local world peace computer to invent the bigger local global peace computer wherever that space is embedded in. Well, we got to create content and upload it or get it into a language model. And at first we won't be able to use our own like raw model. I'll have to fine tune a pre-existing model. And so you got to get all that data up into the internet, use AI tools to process the data before it can even be applied to a fine tuning. It's just the bandwidth for that, especially this video content. You need a lot of it. Also, in terms of the video content, definitely need to stream. Filming work sessions just won't work. It's too unstructured. I have to get to the point where we're streaming all the time. That data is dumping right into PSpace repository, pipelines automated to process it and then inject it into whatever the model world peace computer is building, or even the universal peace computer. A place like this, there's no throughput. It's a problem. Broadcast communication, tooling, financing, and then there's the prototyping. Gotta have something to hold in the hand, something tangible to put on a slide deck. Gotta have the business model down. Gotta have the product well defined, the concept, the thing that will make money. It has to be well defined, the revenue generator. So I keep falling back to just, I need to actually invent a thing. Referred back to the card deck piece computer module. I start working on that development process to actually get an analog hardware component online, create the documentation, like the instruction manual, and the games, ship a thing through a vehicle like Kickstarter. It'll take a lot longer than 2 months. I'm running out of money. I need cash flow. I only have about 50 days left of reserve until I'm just flat broke. Like credit maxed out, all that stuff. And so I can't waste my time dabbling with a card deck Kickstarter. Also, the need for the broadcast communication and the building following need a community for a successful Kickstarter. The card deck computer module is on hold for now, although I will use it as a tangible work aid for my personal efforts to work on the deeper aspects of the prototype. I'm going to create the actual information system that I envision, curate the actual intelligence within a single person's world peace computer. I will start using that in the same motion. I will have a tool set be more effective at the job place, say software engineering. Those products I think are just superior. So that's where I'm going to start with my own system. And we'll use that to at least build a toy, a model prototype. As time goes on, secure financing, Invention program can start to implement its own integrated tool suite with the universal piece baked in. It won't have to be a hodgepodge integration of disparate tools and sources. Yeah, I started doing that, and then I realized that curation is hard. Curating the information, you can just plug it into Assistant with a prompt template where for specific this or that aspect of the information needs to be processed, plus this or that goal. It starts to spiral out of control in terms of complexity. It's hard. Also, it can get expensive quite quickly. Serious effort in that direction is not on hold, but it's not the forefront because I'm back to running out of money. I need to get a job. As much as I hate to do it, just get a regular engineering job again. Yeah, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at right now. The prototype, though, these AI products are getting so sophisticated and good. They're brute force. Trillions of parameters for GPT Omni. Trillions of parameters. The global peace system, the universal peace computer, it's an LL Terra model. That's the world at large. We can tap into that. The invention effort will need to stay focused on integrating only the technologies that it needs, maintain the peace process locally, and then the interface with other aspects of the global peace process, while only recalling on their capabilities when absolutely necessary, because honestly, it's expensive. Not just in money cost. Computers hot. They're hot. I have thoughts right now in terms of actual hardware, creating peace computer mainframes that maintain the universal peace and all the information associated with a world, its pieces, its operator, its peacebrain, its peace process, its associations with other mainframes. Actually create integrations of neural networks, CPUs, von Neumann, graphic processing units, clever integration of those subcomponents into a machine, a system, maintains just a single process, the universal peace. To get there, I need to piece together a prototype with pre-existing AI tooling. Once I get that, implement something locally on my own machine. What I noticed, I don't know if you've noticed it, if you're into manipulating large language models. GPT for All is a nice project. You download a user interface, chat interface, like you'd expect with a product like GPT. You can plug in models hosted on the internet, or you can download a model to create an experience comparable to GPT-4 on your laptop without any internet connection. The technology for creating a local world peace computer, it's very close. The scale and capability that necessitate. In terms of prototyping, that's one thing I'm working on. I'm getting set up with the Mistral 7 billion parameter model, which isn't that much. The results it produces is it's quite staggering. So it's super encouraging. And this ties in with the blockchain. In terms of a proper local world peace computer, one of the important aspects of like maintaining the universal peace will be a reliable source of truth, tracking and managing peace inventories, peace interactions. It will ultimately need to integrate with cryptographic monetary schemes, media value exchange, be them actually exchangeable for dollars and cents, or bookkeeping units of exchange, like IOU notes. Each world has its own instance of a blockchain maintained by nodes that maintain a consensus, might have a linkage between that greater blockchain and a local blockchain that has a finer grained transaction scale, a unit of value measure. But there would be a way to convert between the greater blockchain and the lower blockchain. So maybe this individual scope blockchain, 100 people have their smartphone or their computer working as nodes, keeping track of all their pieces. They want to exchange or at least share information with this higher level, like global blockchain, which might be their greater community or the region, some information and value exchange protocol in between. In principle, it would nest so that you have a block tree. So that would be part of an actual like standalone world peace computer mainframe prototype. At first, be a software that logically differentiates between the various hardware components. Yeah, a standalone mainframe in the future, its only job is to run the universal peace. That would be the most efficient way to go about running the process in a computational sense that could scale, maintaining the universal peace in a way that it could actually scale globally and actually handle the multitude of data involved, the high dimensionality. The problem with how we do things with computers now, I don't know if you've ever heard of the OSI 7-layer model, how we get from the hardware to the application, back down to the hardware, to send a message back to another application. It works quite well considering, but it's super fragile. And the problem is that each layer we have to de-encapsulate the original data so that by the time you get the original message, which might be just hello, by the time you get that from one computer down to the hardware level, that message is just enshrouded by all this other stuff to just prepare the message to send it down a wire to the other computer that has to strip all that stuff, all those extra ones and zeros down to the payload, which could just be as simple as hello. If we want a dedicated system to be the universal peace computer, the computational global peace system, it behooves us to create actual hardware dedicated to being efficient about sending information on wires or through radio waves in the air or through fiber optics. The inputs, they're not really changed at all. And that's the premise, right? Just let the pieces lie where they lie and operate on those directly. Don't necessarily try to take all the pieces into ones and zeros. But Blair, how can you create a language model if you don't actually code the things into ones and zeros? Yeah, huh? How about that? How would one do that? Riddle you that. Trust me, we got this. Also, I filmed a serious piece about mental illness. The Eye of the Hurricane. Oh, sorry about that, buddy. Are you sleeping? Yeah. It's like the Eye of the Hurricane. All these creeping, intense negative emotions right now. Some intense positive ones, but right here, I'm just calm. People worry. They're like, I'm really worried you're gonna hurt yourself. Please don't do it. Please don't. Like, listen, stop that. I don't want to hear that I'm not gonna do that. So you're projecting, and it's just like, don't put that in my, don't force that into my brain, yo. No way in hell. I'm good. I'm calm. I mean, sometimes it's a struggle. I'm good though. That's I got my peace process. I need to do some promotion on YouTube, I think. I need to make some shorts. I need to invent that way of reminding myself that it's all about the minimum viable effort, establishing that. And so you take minimum efforts, failing every single time until you finally piece those minimum efforts into the actual minimum viable effort. If you don't attempt and fail along the way, then you won't actually know if you made that minimum viable effort. And therefore, you're not exercising the peace process reliably. Uh, if you attempt and succeed the first time, it's not as profitable. Granted, failing persistently and then quitting, that's the ultimate loss. But also, I was thinking in terms of the financing problem and then establishing a buffer. Maybe real estate isn't what everybody needs to do. Maybe the way it should work is that the people who are actually involved in the invention effort, it's all about packaging actual intelligence and shipping it. Other people can use the actual intelligence. At first, maybe actual intelligence is operationally defined as just somebody that can figures out how to solve the money problem on their own. If that were the case, well then I'm just looking for people that they don't need an investor to give the company startup funding. What do I mean? Oh, am I actually intelligent? Well, I'm working on the money problem. Maybe that's what this YouTube channel is all about. Demonstrate my actual intelligence while at the same time documenting it, my process for people to pattern, while at the same time broadcasting, while at the same time creating data streams for feeding my future world peace computer large language model, while at the same time providing myself with a mirror, reflect on what I say and what I'm doing in a real-time fashion. I'm still committed to creating a following because I need conversations. This is a call to action. Please, if you're watching this and you happen to have strong feelings about the ambition or the endeavor underpinning this program as a whole, or you happen to know somebody who you believe may have strong feelings about the program as a whole, ideally constructive feelings, not destructive feelings, then I am highly motivated to establish conversations with said people and record them for the purpose of being more pointed and specific about the the information or actual intelligence generation process. So I don't think it's enough for me to just have monologue like this. I think it has to be conversational. That way there's a delta. I think that the value in actual intelligence isn't that it's isolated. The value is in the context of the surrounding community, right? The value or the thing that we can start to package and ship, or at least use to train a model to facilitate the invention program, that value is stored in the difference potential. So it's not enough for me to just have my intelligence, nor is it just to have your intelligence. We need to merge our intelligence in a constant conversation, one of the rules, and capture the deltas, the difference potential between our intelligence. And then I believe that is how we consolidate the potential into something of value, right? I guess that's just collaboration 101, but please, I'm looking to have conversations with you, or your friends, or just like if you are a proponent or skeptic, but you appreciate the effort and the concept, and you would prefer to see an ambition like this succeed, then let's have a conversation. Record it so that other people can learn and glean value from it, from that delta, from actual intelligence. Thank you. This is somewhat of a serious recording. I want to speak on optics and perceptions, especially with regard to the mental illness piece. I overcome chronic mental illness. I devote a lot of energy and focus and deliberation toward doing so, toward maintaining my peace process. I experience bouts of mania and depression and delusion often. It's frequent, it's constant, but I am constantly correcting, I am constantly self-checking, I'm constantly stepping outside of my skin, looking at myself, asking myself, is this too much? Am I functional? Am I operating effectively? And it may seem like I'm just a crazy person, and to a lot of people that's the perception. Now I'll remind you that I happen to be working on something that is unique in the sense that it's not 0 to 1. It's not that it's never been done before. It's more that it's actually completely foreign. It's never been even attempted before. And the kind of mindset that I have to bring to bear to my being and my operation, it demands a certain sense of, say, grandiosity. It's just the nature of this particular beast. I often have to run hot. I have to go hard. Or sometimes I have to run cold. I have to be depressive. These various states of mood and thought being, they empower me to navigate the treachery of the magnitude that I stand up facing, the mountain that I'm attempting to summit. I barely even made it to the base of the mountain. I'm still in the footholds, even a swamp, one might argue. And so oftentimes people latch on to this idea and they lose control with it. They spiral into mania. They start just thinking absurdities and behaving in absurd ways with regard to the idea. Some might be driven by fear, others might be driven by excitement, but the fact of the matter is that I'm cool. I am stable, though I oscillate. I'm stable, even in a clinical sense, to the point where, like most you all out there, if given the pressure and uncertainty and magnitude that I put myself up against, like, you lose stability in a heartbeat. A heartbeat. A lot of you all out there criticizing me of being unstable. Well, you're shaky as... That was a little harsh, but not really. My point being, I get a lot of people that laugh at me, laugh behind their closed doors of, say, their mind even. I get a lot of people that worry about me. It's like, well, we're worried about you, Blair. You might be losing control. I see this Wilder that you're embracing. It's like, no, that's got to be mental illness. Well, it's not really a newsflash, but yeah, I I deal with mental illness. It's just a part of my life. I medicate. I rely on tools, therapy, all the different things. But it's like sometimes when people see me having fun, because I like to have fun, it's just connecting the dots. Like, this person's having fun and they're trying to do this big thing. They must be manic. They must be psychotic. They must be this. They must be that. Or you see me not having fun and I'm still trying to do this. Same. Like, they must be depressed. They must be psychotic. This, that. Mental illness. Like, most people are projecting. And that's what I kind of want to emphasize, is that, like, in terms of participation in the project, the program, the Invention program, I will always be an outlier in that, like, I will always be the one that's, like, leading charge into the unknown, into the wilderness. Like, there's a different set of pressures and unknowns and uncertainties with that. This is not to say that, like, that the project, for example, the program, it's okay to jump in and just use that as your the thing to hang on to if you're unwell. Like, if you're unwell, you need to get yourself right first. Like, I don't want you participating in this project if you're unwell. Like, if you've found yourself in a position where it's like, hey, like, I'm manic or I'm depressed and I don't give a fuck. It's like, that's a problem. If you're running hot and you're doing wild shit without any consideration for the things you're doing, no, that's unacceptable. I condemn that. And if you're trying to be in my life because perhaps I intrigue you, or you find me fascinating, or you just want something interesting to latch on to, like, also, like, no. Like, if I don't want people in my life who aren't interested in taking the thing that I'm passionate about seriously, which is my work. Like, if you have no interest in getting to know me in terms of my work, then stay out of my life. I don't want you in my life. I never will. There are exceptions. Family, for example. Even then, I'm always working to breach that threshold. So, mental illness piece, like, yeah, I gotta work on just maintaining the sober look. Like, even when I'm having fun, I guess people just people don't take me seriously, and that's all right. But when your best friends do it, like, no, that's not all right. So, and I set myself up for these situations, but I'm here to do a thing, to spark a thing. That's my job. Don't get me twisted. If you do get me twisted, and you try calling me your friend, like, shame on you. You are no friend of mine. Sometimes it's better being alone. It's okay to not take me seriously, too. Just don't try and frame it as anything other than that. If you don't take me seriously, well then, you can stay over in your corner. Don't venture into my corner. If you storm my corner, well, I'm ready.